What is up? What is up, YouTube? How y'all doing? Hey, I don't know what y'all doing. I don't know what y'all into. This is going to be a 2 hour. We're going to split it up into two hours. We're going to split it up into 1 hour apiece. I'm letting y'all know right now, Diddy trial inside exposes lies from the media, witness, and more. Oh man, Matthew Cox just put this up. Shout out to him and his channel. Dude, this is a hot one right here, man. This is a hot one. Matthew Cox definitely get deep into what it is they talking about. This ain't no clickbait. He don't throw nothing up unless it's the real deal. Jack and Jill going up the hill, baby. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell. Let's just get into this bad boy, man. Hey, we're gonna do our stopping and do what we do. Here we go. Check it out.
I'm in the courtroom, Court TV, Entertainment Tonight, TMZ. I'm giving a whole nother report than what they saying. I'm gonna tell it like it is, man. Homeboy got a chance to beat this. When this first came down,
that's your
when
opinion.
he was arrested and they searched his house, and then the way you saw what everybody was saying in the media and on YouTube, I thought Puffy was done, man.
Nope.
I went over to the city. I live in North Jersey, so I catch the train over every morning. I go to Jersey City. I jump on the PAV train. I go into the World Trade Center, and then I walk to the federal court. And I see, yo, they finna destroy Puff, right? So I go to one of the jury selection process days, right? And I'm there, and that's not too, that's no big deal. But then the day that Cassie testified, I think Cassie might have been their third witness. I went to all 3 days of her testimony, and after she got done testifying, I said, homeboy got a chance to beat this, man. Now, I know you done did fair time and I done did fair time, and we know you go to trial, you usually get your boot smoked, right? What is it, 96% of the time, 95, whatever the conviction rate is. But I think Puff, man, he's got a mean legal team. I think he got a chance to beat it, man.
That's weird that he would say that, man. I'm just letting y'all know, I got a lot of people a lot of YouTubers, and they taking down notes, and none of us, y'all got to keep this in mind. None of us are lawyers. You know what I'm saying? There's a couple of people that study law, and you can tell that they're more educated up on the law than I am. But I got a degree in criminal justice, so y'all think Uncle Mike over here laughing and joking. I probably wanted the degree just so I could make sure I don't go to jail, because I'm allergic to jail. I am allergic to jail, dog. I think I'm the only one walking this earth that's allergic to jail. So with that being said, everybody else is saying that this person tore him up, But when they do say that now, they're not gearing what all these lies and all the stuff that they catching Diddy in doesn't have anything to do with what he's being charged for. You're saying he stole the car. You show proof that he stole the car. You show proof that he did all this. But this proof that you're showing, he's on trial for bank robbery, not stealing a car. You know what I'm saying? That type of thing. That's a terrible analogous. Here we go.
One of the things that had come out was like the Kim Porter memoir, right? That had come out, that was released. And, and it went nuts. Bestseller, everything. Obviously, they got it taken down pretty quick. It sold over almost 50,000 copies in 3-4 weeks. And it had all kinds of salacious allegations in it. You started hearing rumors about, I'm going to call it CP. You can figure out, what it is. And videotapes. And there's definitely, Will Smith's son, Bieber, Usher, all of these guys that were or these kids that were underage, and there's videotapes. And what had happened in the course of looking into the Kim Porter stuff, multiple things that I figured out was, one, that prior to the book being released, the people that released the book were shopping videotapes, saying, hey, we have videotapes. And so that was everywhere. And so the media was going nuts, right? And then as it kind of the whole thing fell apart, the book gets put out there, and it turns out that the guy who's going to all of these attorneys and stuff saying, hey, you're trying to sell this information, turns out that he'd never actually seen the information. Then ultimately it turns out these tapes don't exist.
Look at that.
So in social media's eyes, because he was shopping them, the word was getting around. TMZ is doing little broadcasts about how somebody's out there shopping these tapes. There's all of these podcasts about these tapes being shopped. Jaguar's talking about it. She's saying, hey, there's tapes out there. I'm hearing rumors that this is what's happening. Before you know it, it was everywhere that there are tapes. They're out there. They exist. People have seen them. People are shopping them. They're going to be released. Then his house gets raided. They've got the tapes of the CP. They've got it. He's done. But then if you look at the actual indictment, there's nothing in the indictment about it.
And ain't nothing came out at the trial.
Right, because those tapes don't exist. That was a rumor that I told, I tell you,
Whoa.
You tell three people tell, those three people tell three people. Before you know it, there's a bunch of podcasts, it's everywhere, and it becomes absolutely 100% fact that these tapes exist, but in reality, they don't exist. And then ultimately, in the end, the 𝗗𝗢𝗡𝗞𝗦 manuscript or memoir doesn't exist either. It was fabricated also. So that was now fabricated. And in that, it talks about these tapes. It talks about these relationships with these young artists. And the truth is, and keep in mind, it's the same guy who publishes that's also trying to sell the tapes.
Oh my God. And I'm gonna be honest with y'all, man. It's a good way to get I paid $250 for this copy. That's how pressed I was to get my hands on some this book so I can introduce the book and what's in the book for real to the YouTube channel. Now, here's the thing that tripped me out. Everything that's in the book, and I still haven't read the whole thing, man. Everything that's in the book, it's like they took everything that you know on YouTube. If you've been following this whole case, you take everything that you done heard and you put it into a book and call it a bestseller. It's nothing in that book that y'all don't know. I bet you in the moment I can close my eyes or turn to any page. You can't read it while your eyes closed, Michael. It's nothing in that book that you ain't heard already online. That's real talk, man.
So it turns out all of that's fake. All of that was fabricated. And that same guy, the guy that I believe wrote that manuscript, he has never said he did, but I mean, everything says he did. He was actually called in front of the grand jury to talk about it for Diddy. And then they called him a second time, but by the second time they called him, he wouldn't go. He wouldn't go because now the government knows these things don't exist.
Whoa.
And his lawyer said, no, you can't go. Because now the lawyer knows they don't exist. And the lawyer is thinking, they get you in front of there now, they're going to get you lying to a federal grand jury. You're going to get arrested. So he doesn't go. But that's how kind of these rumors get started, where it's, and I'm not saying that, that Diddy's a great guy or anything. He's clearly, got some major issues, but some of the allegations that are overly outrageous, who knows? You just don't know. I'm just saying that to kind of give a little bit of a context to the, it seemed like in the media, like poor Cassie was dating this guy and he was just a monster to her, and she was being manipulated. She was an unwilling participant, and she didn't want anything to do with any of this. And he was, but that's not what you're saying is coming out.
Yo, that's a great way for you to open up this segment, man, because everything that you said, I don't know the specifics about what you said with these tapes.
Right.
You saying that is the first time I'm hearing it. But Matt, what I thought, man, when they showed the videotape of him assaulting Cassie, right? Now, Puff is guilty of assault.
Yeah.
Puff is guilty of domestic violence, right? He's guilty of battery, 1,000%, because we can see it on the tape. What I didn't know and what they didn't disclose is that's actually a 6-minute tape where in that same scene, they're sitting there talking to each other before he gets violent with her, right? After he assaults her, and then the security dude comes up, Cassie says, he asked Cassie, do you want to leave? She said, yeah. Puff says, she ain't going nowhere. The security guy said, yes, she is. She's leaving. So the security guy let her dip. She jumps in an Uber, goes to her crib by her friend. Her best friend is there. Her best friend, Caesar, calls the 5-0, calls the cops. The cops come over to Cassie's crib. They come in. Her best friend says they roughed her up, pushed up, the LAPD pushed her up against the wall, asked her for her driver's license. She gave it. They asked Cassie for her driver's license. She wouldn't give it to him. And they asked Cassie, what happened to you? And the best friend is saying, tell him what happened. And she was like, nah, I ain't got nothing to say. So she doesn't rat on Puff. Mm-hmm. Then later on that night, right, she go back by Puff's crib, right? Either back to the hotel or to his crib, and then they go to her movie premiere together, right? That was the dates are either March the 5th or March the 6th. I thought I heard it in the courtroom that all of this happened on the same day in terms of the assault and then them going out together the same night, or it might have even been the next day. But the point is that when they first started talking about this Cassie thing, man, I thought he had Cassie tied up in the basement, chained up to the hot water heater, and just was like denying her food and this, you know what I'm saying? But it wasn't nothing like that, man. The prosecution, Cassie was a prosecution's witness. And they put up all of these text messages, man, dating back to 07, 08, 09. And Cassie and Puffy text each other from the time they both wake up to the time they both go to sleep. I love you. I miss you. You know what I'm saying? And Cassie was on the stand, and they were in love, man. You know what I'm saying? And it just made me rethink, and I have to rethink everything that these news houses say now because they engage in selective reporting, right? They only gonna report what fits their narrative, right? Because I'm in the courtroom, CNN is in there with me, Newsweek, Fox News, I'm in there with everybody. But I'm coming out, I'm giving a whole nother report than what they saying, and we all in the courtroom together. Court TV, Entertainment Tonight, TMZ. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and the TikTok, like all the TikTokers that are reporting, everything I see every day is they're like, that's it. He's cooked. Right. Cassie was on the stand. Right. Cassie said he did this. Cassie and then I'm listening to it, and it's like, it's a minute and a half of just Cassie just and not just Cassie, but the other witnesses also. Today so-and-so came in, he said this, he said this, he said, she said this, he said, and I'm thinking it's all just against him. But you, on social media, you don't hear the other side. The problem is the jury does. And here's what happens is that ultimately, if the jury says he's innocent or, finds him not guilty, then people will go nuts. How could you have done that? Because I sat in the jury box and I heard all the evidence. I didn't get my news from a fucking TikTok. Sorry, go ahead.
Now, your views, if you get on the Diddy tip, the Diddy going down tip on YouTube, right, Instagram Shorts, right, TikTok, I'm assuming, it's huge. Your numbers are going to blow up.
Right.
But if you on the tip like, man, Puff got a chance, or you are poking holes in the prosecutions, your numbers is not going to be as strong.
Nobody wants to hear that Santa Claus doesn't exist.
Yeah. You right about that. Don't nobody want to hear that. And you going down, Puffy. You going down. You're going down. Puff, man, it's going down. That's what everybody just hoping and praying for, because you done beat that girl. You done beat her up in the hallway and all that type of stuff. Yeah. But she got paid. She got her little pay. Everybody said she wanted the money. No. Everybody's looking at the wrong thing. The FBI and everybody is tying all the stuff he did wrong is in the business. Rico, that's what we look. You got to stay on the Rico, man. Not how many drugs they did and... Oh, man. They trying to prove
it like it is, man. I'm in the courtroom, man.
That the corporation did this stuff.
3 courtrooms. Puffy and them up on the 26th floor. Mm-hmm. They got an overflow on the 23rd floor and an overflow on the 24th floor. But in the overflow courtrooms, they have these big LED TVs, and they got all of the PCs with the proceedings live, where you can see the witness on the witness stand and you can see Puffy and the prosecution and his whole team. So I'm in there taking real notes, man. I'm on sneakers, boots on the ground, man.
Well, what is she saying? Like, here's the thing.
She who?
Cassie. Mm-hmm. So here's the thing is, I mean, you ever heard that the saying, like, if somebody shows you who they are, believe them, you know? And it's like when you hear these text messages or when people text, you know what I'm saying? How many times have you seen something on TikTok or something where they're like, your concern is, here, like a guy walks in and he looks down and sees a file that has his Instagram name on it. And he goes into HR and looks down and sees his Instagram name on it, and he thinks, oh my God, like, what have I been posting with? Or your girl gets it and looks at the group chat between you and 4 of your buddies. It's like, oh Jesus, the stuff that we say to each other. But that's who you are. You know what I'm saying? That's your real raw feelings. And when a man and woman are talking to each other in text messages or like when nobody's around, like that's your real thoughts. Like what are her text messages? What are their? It is just I love you and it's just back and forth. Do they ever talk about any of the sexual things that they're engaging in, or is she?
No question.
I don't feel comfortable with what you asked me to do last night. Is there anything negative like that?
No.
Because based on social media, that's what I would think. She would be like, I can't believe you forced me to do that. I would never do it. Please don't ever ask me to do it. That's how social media makes it sound.
That's the way the media made it sound prior to. I didn't see none of that. And no one in the courtroom who was there with boots on the ground saw none of that. And let me say this, man. Let me just go ahead and qualify, man, that, I heard a lot of things about Puff, right? Puff is a drug addict. Cassie testified to that on the stand, say they use drugs every day for 11 years. Puffy may have jerked people in the music industry. He may have jerked people for their masters. He may be an unscrupulous businessman, right? He may be a sexual deviant. He's guilty of domestic violence. He beats women. He may be guilty of assault. You understand? Mm-hmm. So I don't want people that watch your show to think like,
you're saying,
I don't,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, you're not idolizing this guy.
Nah. My man is not, he's got his own issues, but a Rico case, I don't see it. But to answer your question, Cassie was a willing participant in a lot of the freak-offs, right? And a freak-off was nothing more than Cassie, Puffy, and a male escort. 3 people.
Proven. They was proven. FBI's proven that Cassie is a part of the business. Rico. See, you gotta figure out what it is that they're doing. They are proving. Well, see, everybody thinking that, well, she didn't want it. Yes, she did want to do it. They proved, okay, the judges and the lawyers is proving that Cassie did want it. FBI's like, we don't care if she wanted it or not. That's not the point we making. The point we making is she was part of the business and she called for the S workers. She paid the workers. She's part of the company, and she's paying the workers. So the company did all this stuff. Rico. Y'all don't get that part, do y'all? Uncle Mike the only one seeing it like that. Here we go. Watch.
And
that's what they're referring. That's
a freak off.
That's basically the definition of
They
this point.
talking about the wrong stuff.
It's not 6 guys and
in this big house,
2 women,
and you go into this room, and
that's not what he's on trial for. Freak offs. If the freak offs was good or not, or was they illegal? They had drugs, and he's not on trial for none of this stuff. So why y'all concentrating on this? They on trial because the company did these freak off. He took company money and bought the drugs to do the freak off. Can't do that. You took company money and not only you paid for the workers, you had people in your company to pay for the workers. Cassie, company did it. Strike the movie on, or however that stuff go in the court.
These white parties, none of that, man.
There's no ashamed of the bed.
No, man.
It's disappointing.
And there are text messages where she is texting him, initiating freak offs. Like, baby, I love you. I was, Puff would say, I was thinking about an FO. And she was like, man, I was just getting ready to text you and tell you I'm thinking the same thing. Let me call so-and-so, the male escort, and let me get everything set up. And Cassie heats up the baby oil, and she pours the baby oil in the little baby pool. They both
There's a baby pool?
They both was into that, man.
The hotel.
Right. And she's the one who's orchestrating it.
They both did.
Okay.
But you asked me, was she on the tip? Like, I don't want to do this. You making me, you're forcing me. It wasn't none of that. She was with it.
Right.
You understand?
Is she on like payroll? Like she's getting a check every
That's
month?
That's his lady, man.
Right.
That's his lady. He had like 6, 7 girlfriends, man. They named them all.
And they're all getting a check every month, like paying their rent, or they don't bring that up?
I don't know about the mother girls, but it was, and he was supposedly knocking down his babysitter too. But Cassie, he loved Cassie, man. And Cassie loved him.
It seems like
100%, man. 100%. The text messages show it. It shocked me. I'm sitting in the courtroom like, and she's on the stand. And out of all the witnesses, Matt, she's the only one that I've seen that didn't tell not one lie. She didn't get busted in no lie on the cross. She just had one date mixed up. Whether something occurred in September or October, she wasn't too sure. But she sat up there and told it what it was. And they asked her, did you love Puffy? She said, yeah. And Matt, he asked her, do you still love Puffy? They said Sean Combs.
Yeah.
Do you still love Mr. Combs? And she paused and caught herself. Because what she wanted to say was, hell yeah. But she said, I love our past. Right? Because obviously now she's married. She was pregnant. She's got 3 kids with this guy, the personal trainer, who Puffy turned her on to.
It's going to be a bad night.
Right. You understand? She said, I love our past. Now, if it was so traumatic, if why would you get on the stand and say in court that I love our past?
Yeah,
and to me,
that's facts.
once she got off the stand, I said, man, if this is y'all star witness, if this is who y'all had to convict Puff, it didn't happen.
The waste of an indictment.
It didn't happen because I'm sitting there waiting and I think everybody in the courtroom was waiting on her to drop the hammer on him. So then, because really, she could have shot him in the head after her testimony.
It's traumatic. I'm traumatized. I can't even think about him without crying. I have nightmares. She could have.
I saw Puff buy 50 keys from a drug cartel. Then him and another guy from the cartel, unalive 2 dudes. I saw all of this, and then she could, if she really hated him, Matt, and she really had revenge and spite and anger in her heart, she could have got up on that stand and lied and the prosecution would have let it go down, right? And she could have destroyed Puff, but she didn't, man. All she kept saying was how much she loved him, man.
Did she ever say that she felt like she was coerced into doing these things? Like, is she saying I was coerced, but then they're reading text messages and it doesn't sound like that? Or
well, this is what I've learned about the prosecution team and how they're handling their witnesses, the witnesses for the prosecution. They're meeting with these witnesses 2 times, 4 times, 8 times before they actually take the stand.
Going over their testimony.
Going on, what you gonna say? I'm gonna say this, and then I need you to say this. Right. I need you, because they have to make it fit the indictment, right? Now, did she say buzzwords being led by the prosecution, right, to say certain things? Absolutely. But then she would come right back, Matt, 2 minutes later and say something to negate everything that was in this indictment, man.
So if they're saying, like, do you feel like you were manipulated and coerced into these things? And she says yes. And then a minute later, she's saying something where she's, well, let's read this text or whatever. Or what did you say at this date? She's like, well, at this date, I told him I was interested. And then I contacted the male prostitute. I had him, I arranged for his flight in. I had a relationship after we met with this particular male prostitute. I kept in touch with him and became friends with him without Puff. I used to see him without Puff. Right. Yeah. The battered woman syndrome is, that's a real thing. I believe that. When it breaks down to me is when you say, hey, this person's paying all your bills and you have ample opportunity to get away from this person. So I can see if you don't have a job, you have no money, you live in the single wide trailer with your husband who beats you, comes home, gets drunk and terrorizes you. He pays all the bills. You have no means of escape. You have 2 kids and there's nowhere for you to go. And you stay in that situation and you become kind of like a de facto, you're being held against your will. What is it? Like a hostage. You're almost a hostage.
Financial hostage.
Right. Financially and hey, maybe physically, but at very least it's like, where am I going to go? There's no money in the house. I have 2 kids. This guy, he never gives me any money. I have no vehicle. I have where am I supposed to go to get away from this person? The level of I get motivation you would have to have, and you'd have to go to a battered woman shelter. You'd have to put your kids in child protective custody. You'd have to go out and get a job. You'd have to save your money. You'd have to then apply to get your kids back. It's about 2 years before you end up living in a 1-bedroom with your 2 kids, and you have to worry about this guy. And so I could see that these women get in that situation and they can't seem to escape. They probably could, but that's not the situation she was in. She's got money.
She's already famous before she met him.
Right. She's more concerned. Her real concern seems like, I want to stay in my penthouse. I don't know if she lives in a penthouse, you know what I'm saying? Wherever. She wants to stay in this really nice property that he's probably providing for her. She wants to keep getting her check every month. And I understand you're saying she's in love with him. But if you take that into consideration too, and how much danger could she really be in? At any point, she could pull whatever means, she has, right? Her funds, and she could leave. She could disappear. He's not going to find her. Like, she has plenty of ample opportunity to leave and disappear or go somewhere else. He's probably not going to hunt her down. If he does, not like he's going to beat her, throw her in the trunk, and drag her back to his house. She could always have filed police reports. Once you file 1 or 2 police reports, now he's definitely not coming after you, because now he's terrified. There's these filings online. These things have been filed. The police have these reports. If anything happens to her, I'm the first person they're looking at.
There's a paperwork trail.
What really seems to me is that she's concerned the manipulation, if you could call it that, or coercion, is she doesn't want to downgrade her lifestyle to get away from him. If she does want to get away from him, I think probably that, like that videotape, knowing it's on tape and she can get some money out of it.
She did. She got $10 million from the hotel.
That's probably her kind of her golden parachute. And at that point, I got to get out of the situation. Why? Because he just cut me a check for $10 million, and our relationship will never be the same.
No, the hotel gave her a check for $10 million.
The hotel? Oh, I thought, didn't she sue him?
She got $20 million from the civil suit, and then the day she was on the stand, that Friday, it came out that she negotiated a settlement with the Intercontinental Hotel in LA for $10 million. So she got $30 million total. But let me say this,
Bro, you could slap me around like a bitch for $30 million, bro.
I wanna qualify, and I wanna look into this camera and say this. So I wanna say to all my lady followers and any women out there that are watching this video, I watched my mother be a part of domestic violence in my early childhood. I saw my mother get beat up by my father. So I don't condone domestic violence. I don't minimize domestic violence versus women. I'm in no way overlooking domestic violence against women. So I just wanted to say that.
30 million.
She got 30 mil. She got 20 mil from Puff. Initially, before she got the 20 mil, her and her lawyer reached out to Puffy's lawyer, and they told him, Cassie wrote a tell-all book, which she talked about on the stand, and they wanted 30 million. He turned it down. She went and filed the lawsuit. That's when he caught it in one day and settled it. It was for 20 million.
Absolutely untrue. Every allegation is untrue. We will not be blackmailed. Give her 20 million. Shut this down as quick as possible.
Gave her 20 million. And then on the stand 2 weeks ago, she testified that she had just settled with the Intercontinental Hotel in LA for 10 million.
So what about the male prostitute? Was it the same male prostitute that came in? You think I can say prostitute?
Yeah. And why? What'd she settle with the hotel for? The hotel was covering up what's going on, or
right? Because the Puff had tried to bribe the security dude for the tape. I think he gave $100,000 for the tape. So she used that angle to get 10 million out of them.
And they didn't call the police. They didn't.
All of that. Yeah. Whatever went on with that.
Right. So, what about the male prostitute in the whole thing? Is it the same guy for 11 years?
No, there's 13 of them.
Wow.
There's 13 of them. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 3 in New York. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in Vegas. 6 in LA. 2 in Vegas. 3 in Miami.
So these guys that are he's in LA. These guys are being paid to fly in.
No, if he's in LA, they call somebody in LA.
So they're not flying in these guys from other, because I had always been under the assumption that he was flying in male sex workers in general from other states. Because the moment you say, hey, I'm going to pay this person to perform a sexual act, they're in Idaho, let's fly them in. Trafficking, you're done. Like, that's the definition of it. But that's not what's happening. That's not.
Whenever they were in Vegas,
it's Vegas.
They had somebody in Vegas. Whenever they were in New York, they had somebody in New York. Whenever they was in LA, they had somebody in LA. Now,
so that's just solicitation.
If they took a particular affinity to a particular dude and flew him in, that may have happened. Now, the dude that got on the stand, the Punisher.
The Punisher?
That's his name.
Bro.
Cassie found him.
It's not good.
That's his name.
It's not a good name.
Cassie found him on a website, right?
And she found him.
Right. They are paid independent contractors. They are independent contractors of the company, right? And on their website, it says that we do not engage in prostitution.
Right.
And then he started his own website, thepunisher.com. And when he was on the stand, he also stated that on my website, it says that we do not engage in prostitution, that we are paid from the company.
Okay, but they are accepting funds.
Gratuity?
Come on. I mean,
Listen, I'm just telling you what I heard in the courtroom, man.
right.
Puff was paying him.
Is there a specific amount, or is it we work on tips? And that implies I don't have to pay you at all.
I heard different amounts. There were different amounts for different times.
What are they going for?
He was giving them what? One time,
Asking for
one
a
time,
friend.
one time, Cassie had set up a episode with one of them, and he came and they canceled on him, and they still gave him $500.
Okay.
But they would give him $1,000, $800, $500, $2,000.
Yeah, I think I've heard somewhere that it's between $500 and like $1,500 or $2,500 based on performance.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So the numbers might be a little off, but something based off performance was in the verbiage.
Right.
I feel like I'd have gotten the low 500s as far as it was performance based.
Oh my God.
So
That's funny.
Did these guys have to sign like a gag order, or does he, when they come in, does he say you're going to sign a non-disclosure agreement or anything?
No,
like that?
my man said the first time he went, Cassie opened the door, met him at the door.
Uh-huh.
They brought him in, sat him down. Him and Cassie was talking. And they started to get into their thing, rubbing baby oil on each other. And then Puff comes out of the room, right, with a mask on, and is just watching them, right? So that but he doesn't say nothing. He doesn't speak to the dude or her. But then he begins to give suggestions. Do this. Let me see y'all do that. Let me see y'all do this. And then he leaves. And then Cassie will go out and leave and go in and talk with Puff a little while. And then she would come back out and ask my man, yo, do you want to finish? And that's what it would do. And then he said one time he went, I think this was at Trump International in Manhattan. He never knew who Puff was until he went into the room, and then on the TV, you know how it says, welcome Matt Cox to...
Right.
And this would have welcome Sean Combs to the... And then he was like, oh, snap, this is Puff. And then Puff started just coming out in a baseball cap, and but he would never talk to him. He would never talk to him.
And what about because in the indictment, it talks about these guys are being coerced. They saw guys had guns. They felt, threatened, that sort of thing.
No, none of them have the Punisher dude. So far, I think he's the only male escort that has testified. It may be one before that, but he never had no guns or nothing like that. And he said that Cassie enjoyed it, right? And when the prosecutors reached out to him, he was looking at them like, telling them like, I don't know why y'all are reaching out to me, because
none of that occurred with
none of what y'all are saying you want me to say in this indictment. It didn't happen. She was interested. She enjoyed it. I don't know what to tell you.
Have they introduced anything as far as guns or weapons? Because weren't weapons seized? I had heard that weapons were seized.
When they raided his house in Miami, and this was interesting because the dude, his name was Gannon, he led the raid on Two Star Island, which is the crib in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, they do raids at 6:00 in the morning. But on Puff, they raided his crib at 3:45 in the afternoon when he had just went to the airport with his daughters and they was getting ready to catch a flight out of the country, right? So the defense brought that up, like, yo, why did y'all, this is what you typically do, but for my man, you do it at 3:45. Actually, it was 3:40.
You think that was orchestrated so that people would say he's on a flight trying to leave? Because that was the big thing right afterwards. He's on a flight leaving the country right now. That blew it up, like he's escaping.
So they found the uppers and the lowers of an AR-15 in separate places. The gun was not put together, right? Mm-hmm. And the serial numbers have been scratched off. But the defense, and then when they took the pictures of the guns, they put everything together. Right. And during the cross-examination, Puffy's team brought up and says, well, why did you put all of this together? They said the guns wasn't together, right? It wasn't assembled, right? And he was like, no, there was no magazine in the gun, right? No.
This isn't a functional weapon.
Right. And then they says, you know, in the state of Florida, this is how he ended his cross. He says, you know, in the state of Florida, everybody has guns, right? And he was like, yeah, because in New York and in Jersey, the gun laws are like super strict.
Yeah.
Whereas down here, y'all walking around with guns like nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they brought that up.
So it's still illegal to have a defaced weapon, and even a piece of a weapon in the federal system, they can charge you with having the entire weapon, even if it's not functional. Because I know a guy in prison that was convicted felon. He was actually charged with 2 weapons. One was just the butt of a weapon. He had actually taken a shotgun and sawed off the butt. Then he sawed off the barrel, which had been discarded. And so they found the butt and they found the finished product, and they charged him with 2 weapons. This is part of a weapon. That's part, even though it was clear that this is what happened. But that's what they that's what they had indicted him on, and he got charged. He got charged with 2 different weapons, and it didn't matter. There was a mandatory minimum, so I think he got 5 or 10 years. I forget what he got. But so I mean, I think that is probably a nail in his call. That, and if they get to a point where they can tell the jury where it's 100% proof or proven that he had this guy travel from California to Las Vegas or to Nevada for purposes of prostitution and paid him, like, that's trafficking. Like the definition, all they have to do is read the definition. Is that what he did? Is that what you heard on the stand? Yes. They're going to go, okay. Because keep in mind too, the jury doesn't know what he's facing. Like they don't know how much time. All they're being asked is,
I don't know about that part. You really think that?
No, I'm not saying. I'm not saying that they don't, because obviously they read the papers. They know.
Right. Okay.
What I'm saying is technically, their only job is to determine guilt and innocence.
Right. Based on the facts.
Based on the facts. They don't tell them, by the way, if you find him guilty, he can get a maximum of 20 years. They don't hear that.
Right.
What they hear is, did he engage, or was someone directed by him to hire this person to fly them in for the purposes of prostitution? If they say, now you heard Mr. Punisher, say this is what happened. I don't know that he did. Obviously, it may be another guy coming on the stand, or maybe you heard Mr. Johnson say he flew in. He'd been with him several times in Vegas, and he lived in California or in L.A. and then he was there several times, and then they asked him to fly in, or Cassie asked him to fly in. Then is that doesn't that meet the definition? And people on the stand will be, or on the jury will be like, yeah, it does. Was there a weapon or a partial weapon found that was defaced? What is it? The serial number. Sorry, I want to say VIN. The serial number, was it scratched off, and was it found in his home? Yes. So doesn't that meet the definition of he's got a concealed a weapon in his home that's defaced, and it's an AR or whatever it was? Did he break that law? Yes. You know what I'm saying? That's all they hear. That's all they know.
I got you. But isn't the gun like? Was the gun used in the furtherance of a crime? I mean, doesn't that have to be considered? Now, if the gun is just in his crib, right, and then he's got a security hut, because this came up when you came in his crib in Miami. There's a security hut right there, right, and he's got licensed security, right, to carry. But what everything you're saying may be right, and then a lot of times what was said and Cassie testified to on the stand was that she paid. She was the one that gave.
Right.
Very important.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they would need
the male
her,
escort.
They would need her to say, and not that the prosecution won't allege that she did it at his direction, but because he's a witness.
But it's the jury, like
right.
what you say.
See, that's where everybody going wrong at. What the FBI has proven, Cassie is part of Bad Boy Records. Bad Boy Records, the company, not only Puffy was doing illegal things, Cassie, who was part of the company, helped pay these people. She's part of the company. Rico, you gotta think like a Rico. That's all I'm saying.
Right. What I'm saying is because she was a witness,
wrong.
She would have needed to say on the stand, it's my understanding, she would have needed to have said, at his direction, I did this. And that can be as subtle as, hey, we should get the Punisher.
Yeah, my boss told me to do this.
Yeah, I liked him.
For the company.
And then she approaches him and because then the prosecution will say, he told her we should have him come. Or he agreed with her, and therefore at his direction, she flew this guy in and paid him. So that's conspiracy. Because here's what I'm saying is, you can line up a lot of things that happen and say, now that I've looked at the case in its totality, I don't think this guy's guilty. And you and I can say it and say, yeah, you know what? Like, I don't think he really did anything wrong. But then you have to think it's when the jury is given instructions,
right?
That's the problem. Then it's going to be, that's why if you ever watch these, well, they don't usually do it in movies. They'll do it in books. If you ever read like The Partner and, books by John Grisham, there's typically an argument about the jury instructions. It's a big deal where
between the prosecution and the defense.
Of course, you can't say it this. Here, Your Honor, this is what we believe you should instruct them. And they're, no, we wanted to say it this way. They're both trying to get the language correct so that the jury goes in and says, and reads it and goes, oh yeah, no, I definitely, if that's the definition, he definitely did that. And you can alter that definition slightly. And you can craft it one way so he looks guilty, one way so it didn't. So just like you were talking about the security. So when we were first talking about it, and I was thinking to myself about the weapon, one, where are these pieces of weapon? And I'm going to say a whole weapon because they'll consider it an entire weapon.
These were these ones they found. The AR was in his closet in his room.
Okay, so they're in the closet because I was going to say if these are common areas that the security has access to, not your personal, that like they can allege that the security could have kept one of their weapons there, but if it was, let's say, a closet in the living room or it was in the garage or it was in the security shack, then the defense attorneys can allege that wasn't even his. He's never admitted to that. Nobody got on the stand and said that was his. Nobody said they procured that for him. You guys found it. He's got security. There's lots of stuff from security. There were coffee cups from security. They've left clothing there. So-and-so's got his boots there. He left, he may have left that. That may have been from security. We don't know. He's had many security people over the years. There's lots of things in a person's house.
They brought that up. They said that the defense says, he's a celebrity, right? And they would who they cross-examined? The dude from HSI, Homeland Security. He says, Puff's a international celebrity, right? He's like, yeah. They have bodyguards too, right? He's like, yeah. So they kind of threw that in. They're like, it's not like me I'm in my crib, I'm a nobody, and I got these guns in my house. That's different from, a guy who's getting stalked, who's pretty much an entertainment icon. It's probably pretty normal for all of them to have a weapon,
Right. Well, and so you know what constructive possession is, right?
No.
So the term constructive possession is like, let's say I'm prohibited from having a weapon. So I need to go to this party and I think I might need one. So I hire someone that has a weapon, or I get my girlfriend to go buy a weapon and she keeps it. So I'm in constructive possession of that weapon. Like I've constructed a scenario where I can get to it. But if I'm searched, I don't have the weapon. Oh, they searched your girlfriend and she's got a 9mm in her purse, and you go,
and she came with you,
right? Well, then you can go, wow, baby. You can go, wow, baby. I didn't know you had that. Now, technically, they would probably grab you because they'll probably arrest both of you, charge you with constructive possession, charge her with conspiracy for having that weapon for a convicted felon, and then they'll try and get her to admit that you had bought the gun or you had her buy the gun, and you asked her to bring it, because now then you're done, right? But what would have to happen is you'd have to go to trial. She'd have to get on the stand and say, "I've always had a weapon. This was my weapon. He did not know." And then you'd be found not guilty. But they'll push that issue.
Ain't no question.
And a lot of guys, some guys, rich guys, will hire security that have weapons. And technically, that's constructive possession, although very seldomly does that end up being the case, unless there's some kind of a shootout or something. Right. And those guys they get grabbed and they're, I don't want to say coerced, but they're asked by the detectives, "Why did you have the gun?" "Well, I had the gun because Sean asked me to bring the gun. He thought there might be trouble. He wanted to make sure I had a weapon. That's why he brought me with it." Then it's like, woo.
And the dude is not licensed security, you saying?
No, I'm saying, let's say he is licensed security. But they'll still say, he told you to bring the gun. He hired you because you had a weapon. That's also.
So you mean to tell me that you and me as convicted felons, that if we were going somewhere and we didn't feel safe, we can't hire armed security?
So you can. What I'm saying is that the government will twist that. They can twist that. And I've seen them twist that to try and get you
constructive possession,
a charge of constructive possession. Now, if you're willing to, keep in mind too, a lot of times now they've charged the security guy. They take away all his weapons. And what they're saying to him is, "Listen, man, we'll drop the charges if you'll just testify against him that he told you to." You know what I'm saying? Like they'll coerce someone. Like you know that they'll coerce the hell out of you. Yeah. So what does that guy do? Does he want to wait the next the next 8 months or year to go to trial to try and beat a charge that right now he can just say, "Yeah, man, he told me to bring the gun because he thought there might be trouble." So I also think it depends on who the guy is. Is it a CEO who has a felony from 15 years ago for fraud, and now he owns a multi-million-dollar company, and he's got a professional security with him? No, I don't think that guy gets charged. But I think if he's a rapper that has 3 felonies for selling drugs and guns, and he's putting himself in bad situations.
Right. Different scenario. Yeah.
They're going to look at that differently, and that's the guy I think they'll. Even though I think he's got every right in the world to have security that have weapons, I still think that they probably go after that guy. They probably don't go after the guy who's a CEO who never puts himself in that situation. Because let's face it, right now, who do you know that's a felon that is surrounded by licensed security that has weapons? Donald Trump. Technically, you could charge Donald Trump. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's not who they're going to charge. They're going to charge somebody else. Usually what happens, and I've met multiple guys. I used to walk the track with this guy. He had his girlfriend buy a gun, a weapon. And just so that she would keep the weapon, have the weapon, he said, so I had access to the weapon. And if we got pulled over and searched, she had it on her. She bought it in her name, everything. He had done that. And I think He had done that, and another time, this had gone on for a year or two. She'd done it once for like a year or two. And then like a year or two later, he went to a gun show. And the ATF was went through in the parking lot taking tags down and running plates. And his plate was registered to him, and he was a convicted felon. So they then went on the video, right, the surveillance video, and watched him. And he and his girlfriend go up to one of the stands, look at a weapon. He then says that they want to buy it. She wants to buy it. He then gives her the money, or he pays for it. She gets the weapon, goes back to the car. Like it's from the video. And he told me, he said, it's pretty obvious. They actually pulled him over like a week or two later and searched the car, and they charged both of them. And then she said, no, I bought it for him. I mean, it was so obvious. He's like, I'm not even mad at her. Like, he's like, we'd had discussions where she's like, no, I'm going to say it's mine. It was so overwhelmingly obvious that I was telling her. And you've got the gun guy saying, yeah, he said she wanted the gun.
Right.
And I paid for it. He's like, take Ephrem Deveroli. Ephrem Deveroli got charged. One of his charges was, which is the guy from War Dogs, the kid from War Dogs who Jonah Hill plays. If you read the book and know the whole story, not the War Dog story, but he's on probation. He travels, outside the jurisdiction. He's supposed to go shoot guns with this guy. He brings one of his buddies with him, and the guy says, hey, man, I brought the guns. So he touches the guns. He wasn't supposed to.
No.
So he's already done.
You can't even go to a range, I don't think.
Yeah, probably not. But here's the thing. So take those guns out of the scenario. This is what really had him. The guy says, look, I brought the weapons. Can you go get us some ammunition, some munitions? And he says, sure. He goes, but I can't buy them. Mm-hmm. But I'll have my employee buy them. And so he goes to Walmart with his employee. They go up to the stand. They say, get this. They stack up. I mean, they've got a massive amount of munitions. And he's giving his employee on film $1,000 to buy all the munitions. And then they put it in his car. And then he drives back to the location, and the cops pull up. Or cops, the feds pull up. And they grab him. One, you were holding weapons. You looked at the weapons. You knew there were weapons. And the whole time he's telling the guy, look, bro, I can't shoot. You understand? I'm not allowed to have a weapon. I'm on federal, pretrial release. He hadn't been sentenced yet. He's like, I'm not allowed. And the guy's like, well, can you go buy the munitions, the ammo? And he's like, I can't, but I can have my guy buy it. Not realize, he's thinking that's a technicality.
Yeah.
But the truth is, no, you're directing him to.
Ain't no question.
So they all get indicted. They all get grabbed. They all say, yeah, he told me to buy him. So he's thinking, no, he bought him. Bro, I got you on tape paying for it, directing him. It's conspiracy. You're done. It's over. And so, as a result of that, he got into a ton of trouble. And there was two factors, but one of the main ones was the munitions, was buying and it was directed. So, I mean, there's lots of ways that they can rope you in.
Of course. I don't mess around with nobody that's got guns, man.
No.
I don't want that kind of problem, man.
Yeah, if they want you, look, if the federal government wants you, you're done. You're done. You have to have, the only way to make it an even playing field, and that's right now if they want you. If they want you and you say, oh, no, I don't do nothing wrong. No. You're probably committing a felony a day. You just don't even know it. You're probably something. Well, all the time. People do it all the time. I think we've had this conversation. You ever have those pill bottles? How old are you?
56.
Oh, okay. So you're on some medication.
No.
Nothing?
No.
56.
I'm in great shape, man.
Well, I look like I'm in great shape. I'm falling apart. I'm on some medication.
I ain't on no medication.
That's ridiculous. You have ibuprofen?
Facts.
Nah, I fucks with I got Tylenol in the medicine cabinet.
That's not good enough. We need pharmaceuticals. So, but you know how you have that. Baby. They have the days of the week. Well, you have your parents. You know old people. So, you'll get a prescription, 3 prescriptions you have to take a day, right? And you don't want to have to give them the bottles every day. So they sell these, it says Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You pop it open. And at the end of the week, you put your 3 pills in there and you close it. And so every day you go in, you walk in, and you pop it open, and you pull those pills and you throw them in your mouth.
Right.
Well, every time you've taken one of those pills out of that prescription bottle and you placed it into another vessel, that's a felony. That's 3 felonies every single time you do that. And people think, "Oh, I never break the law." Yeah, you do. Those are felonies. Every single time you do it, you're committing a felony. I mean, most people, a lot of people, not most, but there's actually a book called A Felony a Day, showing that, look, most people commit felonies all the time. They don't realize it. They don't typically, obviously, are not charged with those felonies.
Right.
But they are on the books. And if the government wants to charge you, you can be charged. They'll find a way to charge you. Especially you and me with our fraud charges.
Yeah.
Listen, taxes, they can manipulate taxes in such a way. You're like, no. See, I did this. No, that's not a write-off. And you and I probably don't have the same, how do I put this? The same defense as a normal person. Because if you and I were somebody else, they'd say, it was an honest mistake. We're going to charge you a fine.
Yeah, no, not with us.
They'll probably just say, no, we're going to charge you with tax fraud. And you're like, what are you talking about, tax fraud?
Yeah.
I claim this. They're like, yeah, I know, but we went through all of them. And we feel like this one and these 4, those aren't legitimate. This is just you and your wife going to dinner.
Yeah.
Or this is you and you go, no, that's not. Oh, no, yeah, but we were discussing the podcast, and we were and you went here and you guys went to the aquarium and you wrote off that mileage. You go, no, but I also met with this guy. Okay, well, you can tell it to the jury. You want to go to trial?
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm fucking terrified.
100%.
So do you go to trial for that, or do you take another felony and go do 6 months, or do you spend everything you've got to try and fight them in court, and they've got a 97% average conviction rate? And so what do you want to do? You want to lose your money? You want to lose all your money and end up going to jail instead of for 6 months, you're going to go for 2 years now?
Right.
Fuck, bro. It's a fucking horrible.
Yeah.
And so he's given them, by definition, they're probably going to go through and find ways to tie him into these felonies, I think. Whether he's guilty of exactly what they said, I think they put enough people on the stand, they make him look bad enough, and they tie him in to breaking some felonies, and I think the jury still ends up saying, yeah, he did break that. Yeah, that is a felony. Yeah, that is a felony. I don't see how it ties into Rico, but I think that they get him, even though you're saying, no, she was a participant, or this guy wasn't coerced, or I haven't seen anything that shows that this was a criminal enterprise. Of course, it's not over yet, though.
Listen, I even have to tell myself, I said, Sean, this is going to come down to the jury, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's 8 men and 4 women, and they are going to ultimately decide what happens with Puff. But what I had initially thought was a slam dunk case ain't that. Puffy's defense team, man, is top of the line. And they have gotten damn near every government witness that's gotten on the stand to perjure themselves on the stand multiple times.
What are these guys getting caught? Like, can you give us some examples of things that they've said that are contradictory? Or
what happens is that the government meets with them, has been meeting with some of them for over a year, prepping them for trial. And while they're prepping them for trial, the government is taking notes on everything they say, right? Now, the defense team has that meeting with these witnesses has to be turned over to the defense. And what the defense does is they sit there and they watch the witness, they listen to him, and they read what they said in the meetings with the feds, and then they say something different on the stand, and when they cross-examine them, they say, do you remember when you met with the government, October 2023, you said this? And the witness go, no, I didn't say that. Just let me show you. Let me give you this. Read this and let me refresh your memory. And when you're done reading it, look up at me. And it'll be totally different from what they wrote. And man, the jury, everybody, you know what I'm saying? And it just takes away from the credibility of the witness. And a lot of these were former employees of Puff, man. Right? So what the government is doing is they, to solidify the conspiracy, they've linked up the liquor business company, Bad Boy Entertainment, the record label, the Ciroc liquor business. He's got a marketing company, the clothing brand, and they say that this is the enterprise. Mm-hmm. This is the criminal enterprise, right? And all of his assistants and his security that saw him assault Cassie or other employees that saw him with guns, because they have other times where they allege that he had a gun on him, that the employee is supposed to operate outside of the scope of their job description and report him to the authorities when he's assaulting Cassie, when he, and which makes this a conspiracy and makes them co-conspirators in the racketeering, right? But we're not going to charge you if you get on the stand and testify against Mr. Combs. And that's what a lot of them are doing. But while they're on the stand, they getting caught in all these lies, man. And
so what is it? Is it like their first statement? They're saying, no, I wasn't coerced. I wasn't asked to say this. I wasn't. And then later when they're on their stand, they're saying, yeah, he told me not to mention this. I was told. Is it that kind of blatant?
Well, all of them are different, right? So a lot of the employees are alleging that it was a hostile work environment, right? He threatened my life. I got death threats from Puff, right? But yet you stayed after the death threats, right? You stayed and you worked with him for another 7 years, right?
Right.
Or you left and went to work somewhere else. But then now we have you texting Puff back saying you want your job back. Now, why would you want to come back and work for a dude that, you know what I'm saying? So like everything that they're saying, it doesn't match up with, like if I want to get away from you, Matt, I'm going to get away from you and I ain't never fucking with you no more.
Right.
But that hasn't been the case with a lot of these witnesses.
If I threatened you and you truly believed that your life was in danger or you were concerned, you would leave and never come back. If you come back, then the truth is why would you come? Like you don't really think don't really think you're in danger. No, we were just yelling, and he said that,
or he never really said that at all. You're just embellishing because they told you. Because a lot of his assistants bought drugs for him, right? Mm-hmm. One dude said he went and bought an 8-ball for Puff. So obviously the feds is going to squeeze him and say, yo, we're going to charge you with this narcotics possession, right? Unless you agree to testify against Puff. And obviously he got on the stand and did. So, it just, it's not as clear cut as the media is making it seem. And it's not as clear cut as I thought it was before it started, man. And he's got a hell of a motherfucking defense team.
And they haven't, his defense team hasn't even mounted a defense yet, right? They're just, right now, they're just cross-examining the witnesses. Mm.
The prosecution witnesses are going first. They haven't introduced any of their defense witnesses.
Right. Are they reserving the right to bring certain witnesses back to cross-examine them?
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
But they are cross-examined. Like when the prosecutor gets up and puts a witness on, he's questioning this witness, and then is the defense attorneys going up and then They're
Ain't
obviously
no question.
Okay. So,
Ain't no question going for the jugular vein, man.
all right, and then they haven't even put anybody up yet.
No. They got one girl, Dawn Richard, got her to lie. They busted her in 13 lies on the stand. The government put up an expert witness, a clinical and forensic psychologist on the stand, who was also testified in the R. Kelly trial and the Johnny Depp trial. And come to find out, she was formerly employed by the federal office of the Southern District of New York. She gets 60% of her revenue, her income comes from being an expert witness in court, whether it's in the Eastern District of New York in Brooklyn or the Southern District of New York in Manhattan. They met with her after the defense they met with her like 6 times, right? And then after the defense gave their opening argument, they met with this expert witness again. Cassie gets on the stand, testifies for 3 days. They meet with this expert witness again. So it's a lot of things that the prosecution is doing, man, is bordering on unethical, right? Prosecutorial misconduct. And it's not a slam dunk, man. It's not a slam dunk. And me and you can be on this podcast in front of these mics talking about this all day, but it's really going to come down to them 8 men and them 4 women on the jury who were there every day hearing all of this stuff from 4 feet away. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
What's the overflow rooms like? Like, how do you get
that's what
in
I
there?
want to
Like,
know.
how many people are in there? Is there?
To get into the main courtroom, to get into the 26th floor, which is where Puffy and them is at, they take usually 14 people from the public, first come, first serve. And I'm gonna pay this dude when I get back. He'll sit out there for you all night. They got some homeless dudes and some drug addicts that'll sit out there for you all night to get you that first spot.
Yeah.
And then everybody else goes into the overflow, either on the 24th floor or the 23rd floor.
You didn't answer the
Are they
question.
packed?
Yeah.
He didn't answer the question. What are the overflow rooms like?
Especially in the beginning when Cassie was on the stand,
Yeah, they was
Dawn
packed.
Richard was on the stand, Kid Cudi was on the stand. Yeah, it was hard to get a seat in there.
I have a question because I saw this on, I don't know if it's true or not. Did Ashton Kutcher show up? Or is
I
that-
didn't see him.
Yeah, that's okay. I saw it on social media. Like they were like, he showed up.
Who is that?
He was the guy that 70s show.
And
You got
the
punked.
TV
Yeah.
show.
TV show, you got punked.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
I didn't see
listen,
him.
there's so much stuff. There's so much misinformation out there.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. It's crazy, man.
Yeah. There's the first website is just saying that the internet is fabricating that with him showing up to testify. Are there people outside with the free Puffy, free Diddy shirts? Did you
Yeah,
see that?
yeah. So I was out there one day doing my live because I come out. I go into the morning session. They usually take a break around 12:30. I'll go out and go live from in front of the courtroom. So I was out there one day, and I see all these people behind me with these free Puff shirts, free Diddy. So I thought that they were wearing them voluntarily, but it came out that they were being paid, I think, $20 each to wear them for an hour. So I didn't know. That was unbeknownst to me.
He's got a little media
Well,
team.
I think, and I don't know all the details, but there's a crypto that's about free Puffy, free Diddy, and I think that they're all, those are kind of like the marketing behind it all.
I thought maybe it was him having his people.
Well, this is all based off a YouTube video that I've listened to,
Which means
but
nothing. Yeah.
like apparently like his relatives own the crypto, and it's a way to support or something like that. But like I said, that's sources from a YouTube video. So
There's a lot of people that are against Puff, but I'm getting a lot of comments on my YouTube channel, man, from women that are saying, free him. There's nothing there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, listen, I think the video alone.
Oh my God! What?
Some people will convict on, even though but you see the video,
That's me.
The assault video.
and then they testify. Then she testifies that then she went back
The same
and then-
night.
right? Yeah,
She had to.
And after he assaulted her, he texted her like 7 times. They put them up on the screen. Please, PLS, call me. PLS, call me. PLS, call me. The police are coming. PLS, call me. I love you. PLS, call me. And she doesn't call him back, but,
Dude.
I don't want to characterize the relationship. They asked that girl on the stand, do you hate Mr. Combs? She says, no, I do not hate Sean. Did you love Sean Combs? She said, yes, I did. Do you think Sean Combs loved you? I think he did. Do you still love Mr. Combs? And she paused. And she said, I love our past. On the stand, and the jury is sitting right there. And Matt, I think everybody, me, I'm in there. I said, man, Cassie finna get on the stand. She finna knock fire to this ass. And I'm waiting on her to drop the bomb because the case, Matt, could have been over after she got off the stand. Which is what I think everybody thought. And we all walked out of there Friday like, that ain't what nothing what she said is in agreement or in congruence with what they putting out on CNN, MSNBC, Fox. She just said something totally different, man.
Can you see the jury when you're in the overflow room?
No. Yeah. All you can see is the witness. They got the screen split where the witness is testifying and then all of the prosecution team and the defense team.
Why aren't they wasn't Johnny Depp's nationally televised or on TV? Like, why isn't this on TV for people to see?
That was a state.
He had a state
Yeah,
case.
state cases. Federal court is they won't allow cameras inside.
Feds, no cameras. That's
we got to give up our phones,
across the
everything.
board. Across the board.
What's Diddy look like? Does he look like he's...
They say he's got a head full of gray hair. He's, he done put on some weight.
Come on, man.
I didn't know Puffy was on drugs like that heavy, man. They were taking him every day for 11 years. They got high every single day. They both went to rehab. He paid for her to go to rehab in Mexico. Then he went. They stayed clean like a month or 2, and then they relapsed and went right back to the same thing. But they were both heavily drugged up.
Damn it,
And
John.
Puff never came. He never looked like that. He always looked like good, looked healthy, but so they was getting high every day.
Damn it, boy.
What's happening when you go live? Are you getting a lot of...
My lives, when I first started off the first day, I think I had like 100 and some people in there. By the time the 2 weeks rolled around, I was getting 1,100 people in my live in like 15 minutes. Because people were saying like, Sean, you really the only one that's keeping it authentic, man, and keeping it real and reporting both sides of the case unbiasedly. If it's a point for the government, I'm going to give it to him. If it's a point for Puff, I'm going to give it to Puff. If it's a point taken away from the government, I'm going to take it away. If it's a point taken away for Puff, I'm going to take it away, right?
I feel you.
I'm going to report what I hear. And people appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? Because when I do my videos and I do my lives, people are like, no, why is nobody else saying this?
Right.
What you saying? So my views have gone up probably about 1,500%, 1,400% from the beginning of the trial to now. Puffy's lawyer, Andrea Shapiro, asked for a mistrial yesterday. Supposedly, the Los Angeles Police Department lost the fingerprints that they took off of Kid Cudi's car in his house. Remember, supposedly, Puff blew up his car with a Molotov cocktail. Right. That's why the arson is in the thing. But what they discovered was, and under cross-examination, Mark Agnifilo pointed out that there's no pictures of Puffy at Kid Cudi's house. There's no video footage of Puffy there. There's no fingerprints of him there. There's no eyewitnesses, nothing of him being there. And the DNA wipe that they did on the Porsche and the Molotov cocktail bottle came back to a female. But all of these witnesses are getting on the stand saying, yeah, he was there. Kid Cudi, yeah, he was there. They all saying he was there, but there's no scientific proof that he was.
Right. And he was never charged, right?
No, there was never no charge, right.
So there's never enough evidence to charge him.
Right.
They're just throwing it in there because it's in the indictment.
Right.
Or they've just...
Well, it's part of, they got the arson in there, right?
Yeah.
I don't think they thought Puff, this legal team is money, man.
What, you think the prosecution thought he'd just take a plea?
I didn't think they think he'd take a plea, but I didn't think that they thought that his legal team would get down for him like they are. I think his defense team is... I don't think it's about the money for them, right? I think they want to win this case for Puff so that they could put a feather in their hat and say, yo, in one of the most high-profile trials maybe ever in the Southern District of New York, or maybe ever, I don't know, maybe the OJ, that we beat them, man. Because they not playing no games, man. You know what I'm saying? They not playing no games. They coming up with things, man, that, you know, you wouldn't even think of, man. And he's got 11 attorneys. And it's 8.
Dream team.
And it's 8 federal prosecutors. He got 11 attorneys, man.
Anything else?
I mean, so how far into the trial? I know initially it was supposed to be 8 weeks. How far into it are we right now? Is it 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
I think this is the third. This is the third week.
And how this goes, normally at the end, they have a verdict. Like in the sentencing, would we have that in 8 to 10 weeks? Or
depends on how long the jury deliberates. A sentencing or a conviction? Because sentencing is different. Sentencing doesn't
both. I guess. What's the timeline on both of those?
I mean, it depends on the jury. The jury might go out for an hour. Like they might deliberate for an hour. They get their, when they both sides wrap up, then the judge they'll discuss jury instructions. The judge will give the jury the instructions. They'll go back and deliberate. They may deliberate for an hour, you know?
And say, we got a verdict.
Yeah, we got a verdict. We got you. And then it may be 3 days and they come back and they say, we just can't, Your Honor, we just can't come up with anything. And most likely he says, go back, figure it out. You guys need something. And they'll go back and typically people will go ahead and buckle under the pressure of needing to come up with, which I always think is wrong. If you don't have it, you don't have it. So to be sent back and told to find fuck off. Now, sometimes they'll come back and they'll go, we're deadlocked. It's never going to happen. And if they come back and they say, there's no reason for us to go back. It's not going to happen. Normally, jurors are not confident. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't have a lot of them. They feel like maybe we'll be in trouble or something. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a scary process. So unless they have a good what do they call it? The guy that's in charge of the jury, they typically have a jury foreman. Unless that jury foreman has some real guts and can come back and say, Your Honor, you can send us back for 6 months. We're never coming up with a verdict. We're that deadlock split. It's not going to happen. In that case, then the judge will be like, it's a mistrial.
Jury.
It's a hung jury. Mistrial, hung jury, what? Yeah.
And Puff goes home.
And well, they can re-indict him. They could re-indict him. Unless they say innocent, then they can't re-indict him.
But he goes home, though, on a hung jury. They do the whole process, I think, of like re-indicting him and all that. But I don't know that he doesn't stay in prison if it's a hung jury.
They could argue with the judge could hold him. In federal court, they could hold him because they could say, they have like 10 days. Like I think it's 10 days. They have like a certain period of time where they have to re-indict him. And that's a struggle. That's pretty quick, especially now. I mean, gone through the whole court process and having to put everything together to try and go re-indict this guy, knowing this is what we have to work with, they may not be able to get another indictment. Because now they're like, we went through the whole process. It didn't work. We can't really necessarily present the same evidence we did the first time. So most likely they'll hold him for so many days. And if they can't get him re-indicted, he will go home. But I think they'll probably hold him because they've been so adamant he's a flight risk. He's this. Your Honor, you can't. We're going to re-indict him.
You know why they held him? You know why they held him, man? And Puffy, he had his house in Miami at Two Star Island is worth $48 million, right? The appraisal, I have the appraisal. All that stuff is on Pacer. He had a $18 million outstanding mortgage on Two Star Island. Before he got searched, raided at his houses, he paid off the $18 million mortgage. He'd made it free and clear. So he owns Two Star Island free and clear. It's worth $50 million. Then his mother's crib is down the street. And he put that up for bail, right? And they denied him. But after Cassie testified, I fully knew why the prosecution and the government and the judge denied his bail, because you could tell, Matt, I could tell from the stand that girl, Cassie, she still loved Puff. And if he would have got out and said, yo, go buy another phone, call his phone, get in touch with Cassie, let me get her on the phone, and got her on the phone and said like, yo, baby, come on now, what's up, man? What's going on?
I think he would have been able to coerce her into
what's going on? Come on, let's go get a Whopper with cheese, man, a little Happy Meal with some French fries, man, and sit down. And she would have said, okay. And then there wouldn't have been no trial.
Facts.
Now, one witness then backed out. Victim number 3. One victim then backed. They can't even find her. One of the female victims then went missing, and they don't know where she at. And she done gave a statement that even if y'all find me, I ain't getting on the stand.
Damn.
Do you think that has to do with him?
You want my prognostication, my hypothesis?
Yeah.
Wow. A lot of people think it's Ali Carter, man. A lot of people think it's Gina. A lot of people are just guessing at the he say, she says. But let's hear what my man say.
I think somebody done got to her, man, and gave her some money.
Damn.
What about...
And told her, say, listen, take this right here, take this duffel bag and get on up out of here.
Damn. See, that's all
that's
that's
the problem.
One of his...
When witnesses stop showing up...
not a witness, a victim.
I'm sorry. Victim.
She's victim number 3. Yeah, she was going to be with...
Right. When they stop showing up, it weakens your case.
Yeah. Man, come on, man. Everybody in the jury see the same movies. Seen the same movies we've seen. Come on, man. You had this witness, now he ain't showing up. That don't look too good. Why she ain't showing up? That don't look good. That's, to me, that if I'm saying that this dude is guilty, I think he more guilty. God, first of all, she said she was gonna show up. Now is she okay? Is she offed? Y'all kind of, where is she? Hey, look here, man. Uncle Mike gotta take a break. This gonna be a part 2, man. We're gonna finish this thing up. Soon as I go to the restroom, we're gonna finish this bad boy up. This is fire. I can't wait to see how my man Matt is going to end this. So y'all take it light, take it slow. Tell him Uncle Mike told you so. Peace out.